So here we are with the one and only Mr. Tony Adams, Arsenal leg end, as they say. We're not at the Emirates, we're not even at the Old Highbury, we're at Underhill in Barnet. You ever play here before, Tony?
Yeah, we played here most pre-seasons.
Did you? So it's a familiar old stomping ground of yours?
It is, and you can tell the slope, and I always arranged with Arsenal or George Graham back in the day to play downhill, and then I was off getting ready for the next game.
We ought to explain why you're here. You're not actually coming out of retirement, at least not full time, although a lot of Arsenal players would be, fans at least, would be quite happy if you did. But why are we here today?
Okay, well, my little time in Azerbaijan, I'm still working for Gabala as advisor to the president there, and there was a refugee IDPs, internal displaced people camp right next to the training ground. So I was kind of made aware through my 18 months down there as a coach that there was an issue in the country. They tell me now, a little bit more research, that they've got 1 in 10. It's about 900,000 IDPs across the country. After the Armenia conflict about 20 years ago, they flew through the country, and the Azerbaijanis, I'm still kind of talking to them, and the Gabala and the Refugee Council. So, and I want to play with my mates again at Barnet. So any excuse to get the boots back on. It's been too long, and I can raise a few quid for the Refugee Council. All the proceeds are going to the Refugee Council to try and help, Syria at the moment. Tens of thousands have left their homes, so that's more
fantastic
at the moment.
And of course very relevant to you, because as you say, you were a manager in that far-flung European place, so it's obviously very personal. Now, are you fit? You're looking well, I have to say.
Bit of tennis. Played a bit of tennis. I played in a 10-minute game against AC Milan legends in Milan about 3 months ago, and I lasted about 5 minutes, and Robert Perez actually had to come on and take my place. So don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. It might look quite okay, but
in those 5 minutes, Tony, still the old uncompromising self?
I tried to do too much.
Did you?
I tried to do too much. I think I've just got to pace myself a little bit more. Costa Curda up the other end was exceptional. He's just cigar and taking it easy, and so I'm planning to pace myself today.
Now, the career's over, obviously. So during a career, it's very hard, isn't it, to sit back and bask, because you're too busy. It's always the next game, the next game, the next game. But all in all, Tony Adams, it wasn't too bad, was it? You've got to be pretty happy with the way it went.
I think I've got no regrets. I've loved every moment of it. Yeah, the downs as well as the ups.
The downs made the ups higher, I guess.
Absolutely, you've got to feel some pain, I suppose, to appreciate the good times. And I certainly enjoyed the 6 sober years at the end. That was.
Those are the years you remember.
Well, physically they were a lot easier.
Sure.
The emotional combination of the emotion, mental and physical chemistry is second to none. It's just great. It's probably why I'm here today, just putting the boots back on, because it's such a thrill to kick people. You've had a journey, that's for sure, Tony. I mean, on the field as a footballer, but also off it, and thankfully you've come out the other end. But it's when I say it's tough being a footballer, people will laugh at that, won't they? But it brings its hurdles, which you for a while fell into. I think any industry has its life has its pitfalls, and I give 50 education seminars this year, my charity, to talk about life problems, and it's getting better. Education, no one came into my football club when I was 17 and told me, what to do and what not to do. They pretty much took me to the pub. That's the way they did it in those days, and we learned how to do maybe not the right thing. Very proud of the charity. We put 30-odd people through residential care last year. We've got about 25 in one-on-one therapy. So can't remember what I was saying, but all in all, I think there is a lot of pitfalls there, and if I can help in any respect, share my experiences, then but I wouldn't regret my money, because even like I said, the down bits made me who I am today. So I don't regret one minute of it. And most of it was fantastic. Every trophy, every game, England. Even the first trophy at Anfield, the 2-0. Michael Thomas and Paul Davis are going to be here today, so can't wait to team up with those guys.
Yeah. Now you're Arsenal through and through. If we cut you now, you'd bleed red and white, wouldn't you? Where do you stand on Arsenal's, using inverted commas, predicament? Because they're doing all right. They're still one of the best teams in the country, but Arsenal's under the microscope, and this lengthening spell of no trophies doesn't look great.
Yeah, I think the club is. I am biased and red and white through and through, like you say. So I think it's a magnificent football club. It's well run financially. It's brilliant. There was a time, I think, about 4 or 5 years ago, moving to the new stadium. It would have been difficult if we wasn't in the Champions League for a couple of years. It could have, the club could have been in a serious situation, but that's past now, and they are in a healthy condition. And I think all fans, and I'm a fan now as well, we're all kind of saying, come on Arsenal, let's kind of win something now, we need a trophy. And the record that he's done, the 16 years now consecutive in the Champions League is a feat in itself. Incredibly to keep him at the top for so long.
But Tony,
for me, if you keep selling your best players, you're not going to win.
Difficult.
It's as simple as that. And I think in recent years we've let too many top players go.
Now, one argument, Tony, is great, 16 years in the Champions League, lots of thirds, lots of fourths. I know a lot of Arsenal fans will say we just want to win a trophy. But the flip side, I guess, is, don't forget they're up against teams who have had a massive injection of money put into them, which Arsenal haven't particularly, and they've built a new stadium, and they're pretty much solvent. So from a business point of view, it's been remarkable, but in terms of the trophy cabinet, it's been barren.
I think if you're competing with those guys, you have to be creative if they have got more money than you. And I'm still maybe arguing, the wage bill's about 152 million, and I think you can refinance that. I think you have to be stronger with your decisions. Listen, I'm not going to tell Arsene how to do his job. He's far better at doing it than me. But I think I would kind of structure it so I had 5 or 6 guys on a lot of money, and maybe some of the 50 grand a week. I used to do 50 grand a year, but 50 grand a week. I've been in the situation myself as a coach and a manager. If you've got a decision and you can take all 3 players and one of them might come through, then fantastic. You put them all on 50 grand. What I would do now is try and say to him, look, just go out there, wear your heart on your sleeve and just pick one and put him on a lot of money and live or die by that decision. But let's make a decision. Let's not fill it up with 2, 3, 4 that you're unsure of. Let's get one that you really want, really can deliver, and go for those type of players.
Do you think that's the difference, Tony, really, between fourth and sort of Champions League last 16 and actually winning trophies to get two, instead of 3 or 4 great players, 1 or 2 world class or maybe even world best players?
Well, I think you've got to have the best players in the league to win the league. So maybe not in every position because it is a team game. There's many factors in that team, but you do have to have the best players in the league. It's proven year in year out. Best defence, best. The
table doesn't lie, does it?
It doesn't lie. It doesn't lie. So at the moment, I don't. We've got 4th place best players. And if you keep selling your ones that are Championship materials, then I went public with that. We've got to move on a little bit from the Robbie Van Persies and stuff because it's happened, and you have to move on. But from now, let's pick people into the team that are the best in their positions.
Well, on the bright side, it's looking as if the Argentinian striker in Real Madrid, Higuain, is joining. There's a lot of talk about Rooney. It's sounding as if there is a slight change in policy this summer, and we may see at Arsenal 2 or 3 major international stars joining.
Let's hope so. Let's not just buy reputations. You've got to be careful with that as well. It's not everyone's saying spend, and I'm saying, well, hold on a minute, be careful. I think he's really got to make up his mind. If Real Madrid are not wanting him, you kind of think,
why is that?
Why is that? Okay, Real Madrid, but if you want to compete with these teams, if you want to be one of the best teams in the world, then you have to have people that Real Madrid want, and players that don't want to move to Barcelona and Real Madrid and Man United. You have to be a team that actually, when people come to me and said, Alex Ferguson wanted me at United twice, I said, actually, Arsenal's a bigger club than Man U. What do I want to go up there for, But that's a different It's a different game. Unfortunately, different players today, and only 24% of the league's English, and that's it's another problem in itself. So.
Yeah. Finally,
it's too deep a conversation, I think.
Finally, Tony, it's a very easy game when you sit on the sofa and when you sit in the stands.
Yeah.
As we know, Arsenal's defence. The problem with Arsenal's defence at the moment is that everybody keeps harking back to Adams, Keown, Bold, etc. Whenever there's a bit of a hash, that's raised the game. Is it a problem, or they finished the season pretty well, didn't they?
I think fullbacks. I've said this over the last few years. For me. They're very offensive, and I've spoken to Arsenal on occasions that, we used to, if the right back went, the left back comes straight back in, so we had at least three, and at the moment I just see them, they're bombing on for fun, and it's so offensive, it's so attractive to watch, and I'm never going to argue with Arsenal, but just as a defensive guy, it's actually, hold on a minute, see if I was playing central defender, I wouldn't let my right come and you stay here, and I need protection in front of me, and I've got to make sure the keeper does his role as well. So you need that, and we worked on it with George. We worked on it. Baldy wasn't made. He didn't come ready-made player. Lee Dixon, Nigel Winterburn, these kids. They were playing for Bury and Stoke, and Wimbledon. They didn't come in as top players, but what we had, they had the potential. We went out and we worked at it on a regular basis with someone understood, and George Graham was phenomenal in that department defensively. He worked morning, afternoon. See, all of a sudden it just don't happen. You go, oh, there he is, Tony Adams. Oh, Steve Bold. Oh, what a great concede 14 goals in a season. It's like, oh, where did that happen? So I think the big problem for that is Arsenal's fan that Sol and Ashley Cole went, and they were the last ones that could have passed on the knowledge. I don't think they've got a player at the club that was there when when the defence was in the Invincibles, for instance. They're all gone now. So I think that was a huge mistake, not trying to convince Sol or Ashley to maybe hang on in there. But hey, time marches on. No.
Okay, finally, prediction for Arsenal this season, and more importantly, prediction for Tony Adams today.
I'll just come, as long as I come out of the game today unscathed, I'll be more than happy. It'd be great just to see a few guys and raise a few money, a few quid for charity. Arsenal, at the moment, depending on what they get, third and fourth again, I'm afraid. I don't think they're going to go to the top just yet, but you never know with one or two additions and a little bit. I mean, my old mate Steve Bold get in there and get them working, keeping a few more clean sheets than they did last year. Who knows?
Great talking to you, Tony. Congratulations on the football. Congratulations on everything you've achieved off the pitch as well.
Thank you very much.